All right, this is going to be for the engine bay portion on this vehicle. Couple highlight moments here. We do have a new battery, so that has been replaced. Also, we do have a good amount of like surface rust throughout the car. You can kind of see on the brackets here, on the strut towers on the top here. Both sides, those struts are getting a little bit of abuse. You can see it on all the bolts and everything. So just keep an eye on that. This tie down is just chilling. There's no secure on that. This belt, the car's running. We like to let you hear the engine run. Runs good, sounds good, no weird normal. This belt here, you can see a little bit of fray on that edge, on the very edge of the belt starting to fray. A little bit of hazing, that shine, that brown, that just means it's an older belt, so something to keep an eye on. We don't see any cracks at this time. Hoses and everything are in really good shape, that's good. Main thing we always want to look at when we have the engine open is this crash rail, your frame here. So basically when you get in an accident, this is what absorbs the blow. Look down in here, make sure none of those bolts. We also look along here, make sure all our pinch welds and seams all look factory and unison on both sides, which is good. This one has a battery on it, but you can still kind of see down here, all those bolts look unturned and really good shape. One thing I did spot, it might be hard, this right down here is the lower portion of your transmission pan. These don't have like a level check, but you can see a little bit of residue on that corner. We don't have any active wetness, at least from what I can see here, but something that could get worse over time. You know, oil leaks don't fix themselves, they only get worse. Overall though, engine bay's in good shape. Like I said, car sounds great, like it idles very good, plenty of get up and go. On startup cold, we did have a little bit of valve train, could be timing chain rattle until the oil pressure picked up. So just keep that in mind and try to get a cold start so you can understand what I'm talking about. We usually do our videos after we've driven it for a little bit, so I can't duplicate it. And like I said, it only happened the one time. But cold starts are the best starts to figure out what's going on with that kind of stuff. We're gonna keep moving on here. All right, we're gonna get on the exterior portion here. A few things I do want to touch base on, right? You kind of see it on this rear bumper, a little bit of an impact had happened at one point. They pushed it out, but you can still see the stress cracks, some rust, surface rust, oxidation coming through the paint, chipping, peeling. You're gonna see that throughout the car in a few distinct places. Down here as well, kind of on the lower portions here. We do have like a ding here, paint cracked, and then moisture. Some scuffs, some dings, you know, all around the car. The bumper covers, we had a better day. There's a crack and missing trim there. On this side it has the trim, but there's a pretty good ding here and some misalignment on there. A yellowing haze, the camera doesn't show it as much, but there is a haze there that might affect distance of sight with the lights. Wheels and tires, we have Goodyear Ironman, roughly 8s and 9s, similar depth, a little bit different tread, but similar. They're kind of like a sport all season, so more quiet on the highways and stuff, but still some good siping. This wheel I would say has the most damage on there with that bit of curb there. All the black's kind of chipping throughout the car. Not all of them have a ton of curb rash, but they all have some. This door here has had some body work. You can see the cracking and the moisture through there. But the big thing is here, this whole seam is just like, if you go up, this is what the seams normally look like. There's an edge where they wrap and then it is a seam. This is all filler. There's no seam anymore. It's just smooth, but also like rough, bulgy. And then down under here, there's some bubbling and some rust. I can push my thumb into that a little bit, and that goes along the whole door. So this bodywork that was done is allowing moisture to build up in this door. I maybe even pull this plug. We're not supposed to disassemble on these inspections, but you can see the overspray. This area has had bodywork done on it. We got paint lines here on this quarter panel, so it's probably been in a good wreck on this side, especially with this quarter panel. Good thing I always do too, you pull this rubber. If this is like weird and like burn marks and stuff, that means they cut the quarter out, but I don't see any of that. So they probably filled her up, painted her, sanded her, because this is a pretty good paint line. This is enough to catch my nail. So it's just something I noticed. You can see on the inside of the fender there too. So a lot of that moisture is going to be from the bodywork that was done on that corner. You can see a little bit of the difference on tone from the bumper. So just something to keep in mind. The lift gate isn't as bad. This is the worst part on that rust on the upper exterior. We'll get to the undercarriage in a moment. Alright, this is the undercarriage portion. I always go from the front so you can kind of see we don't have anything hanging, sagging, drooping. Nothing wet, so we like to see. You do have a crack in the splash shield here. A little bit of damage on that front bumper. It's kind of a lower vehicle. Kind of expected, but something to keep note. That might flap into the wind or catch in the snow, so keep an eye on that one. We're going to move to each lift point and kind of show you everything. Alright, so this is going to be your driver front corner. This is going to be your lift point area. This pinch weld, pretty much all the way back, you're going to have quite a bit of rust here. You're going to see down here your subframe, control arm and everything. Also similar, a lot of surface rust. Show you your struts here. So definitely something to keep an eye on. Those hold up the weight of the car and everything, so you want to keep an eye on that. This is where the floor pan and the body basically meet together. Your floor pan is essentially what is built into the frame because it's a subframe car. So it's not like a ladder frame that the body bolts onto. This is all one piece, supposed to be. So with that kind of surface rust, we do want to get a treatment going. It's going to be like rigidity, structural here, fuel tank, and then your body mount for the cross member. We'll get a good eye on that from the rear. Alright, this is going to be the cross member from the rear. You can see your suspension, axles and everything. Muffler looks like it's been replaced at some point. Kind of newer. You have a little bit of, you know, a good amount of surface rust built up on this car. Up on the exhaust, you see two, like there's 3 resonators. So the 2 after the very front one are aftermarket. So there's been exhaust work done at some point. This is going to be your crash support and body. These are all on the side where that bumper had some damage, so nothing looks like it's been worked on or bent or broke over here. That's good, that's what we like to see. And crash support on this side, similar story. That subframe just has a lot of rust, but body isn't in too bad a shape. We're going to move to the other lift points here. Alright, this is the lift point underneath where the body work was done on the door and quarter panel. Quite a bit of surface rust. A little bit of separation on this side. We're going to check the front too, kind of show you what I was talking about. So you can see a little bit of gapping in here. More surface rust on these front components here. So definitely something to keep an eye on. Want to get that treated and not let it get much worse. These are right behind the tire, so you're going to absorb a lot of moisture as you drive, especially going into winter. Alright, we're on to the interior here. So mileage on the vehicle at time of inspection, 154,916. Right now I have all the doors open, so that light should be on. Brake was testing, so that should also be on. Radio and everything works as intended. And this also has the auto functions for climate control and passenger climate control. Shifter with the sport function. Heated seat, I did not get to work. I turned that on at the start of my drive and it did not get warm by the time I was done driving. All the wheel controls work as intended. It does have auto lights. Power lift gate, I couldn't get it to work at the lift gate itself, but this button and the button on the lift gate itself work. Mirrors also work. These 3 switches do not work, but this window rolls up and down, and then each door will roll its own window up and down. The car is like front and rear sunglass, only this glass opens up and tilts. And then up here is going to be your info, and there's also a reverse camera up there. It's looking at the sky because I have the rear open right now. We're going to open up everything and just kind of show you everything as we go. Alright, so from the outside looking in, this is your driver. Power seats front and both sides. Carpet here with all weather mats, pretty good shape. This is the dirtiest carpet on the whole car. All the other carpets are in really good shape. This is a Canadian vehicle, so it does have the import sticker there. Keep that in mind. Door panels are in decent shape. A little bit of staining on the leather, doesn't really show too much on the camera, but you'll see it in person. It's kind of like dirt. Pretty good shape overall. This center console has some scraping and everything on it. And you can kind of see your whole dash like this. Pretty good shape. This is going to be our scraping all along here, some staining. Back seats are in good shape too. No tears or any kind of weird wear on it at all. Seatbelts. I did make a note. There's some staining on these, so definitely get those cleaned. It's one thing I'm just very picky about. But underneath these carpets, really good shape. I'm gonna move to the other side here and just keep moving. So this is gonna be your door card on this side. You'll see a little bit of like stains from a coffee or something in that speaker area. Some wear here. Backs are in good shape. They retract as they intended. All really good. And then power seat on this side as well. In good shape. And then glove box. This is supposed to be attached to like dampen the glove box when you open and close it, but it has come off. They're just pressure push. You just push them on to resecure that. A little charger outlet here, and then more chargers inside of there. This little thing here, I believe this is to hold a phone or something, because it's like a pressure pad. You just stick your phone straight up. Well, at least mine fit. I don't know if modern phones are too big for that now or not. But that's going to conclude the interior. Not too bad. We're going to move on to the trunk portion. Alright, we're in the trunk portion here, continuing on the interior. This does have the factory carpet in here. Is a hard floor underneath. Let me lift that. Full size spare, so it's not full width or anything, but full height. Just makes it easier when you're driving around. And then underneath these cubbies, a little hard with one hand, there's going to be just like storage here. This has your cargo net, jack, wheel lock, and I believe there's a recovery thing there. I'm going to pause this, put this back together. I put my mirror in here so you can kind of see how much space. It's like roughly a 4-foot tall mirror. These here, you pull, and it sends those seats down. So if you're back here trying to load something, run out of space, you don't have to walk all the way up and unload everything. These are some of the stains that I was talking about on the interior. Let me go to this other side, show you. Just looks like stuff that was kind of missed when the vehicle was cleaned. These light interiors, it's kind of hard to keep clean and stuff in general. And then this is going to be the marks on the headliner. Looks like they were just hauling stuff with this or something like that. And then this does have the power function on there. I couldn't get it to work with this switch on the liftgate itself, but it works inside the car and it works right there. Kind of slow, but it works. Alright, so we always start with a scan on the computer just to go through everything, make sure we don't have anything poking out at us. These are going to be your monitors as you drive. Green checks are all we want to see, which is good. If there's a gray circle, that just means it's not a supported function, or it could be tied into something else. We also like to make sure our VIN down here on the bottom corner matches the vehicle's VIN. Just when you transfer from Canada, it's just something to make sure you check on. We're going to move over to our codes here for a second. Alright, while this focuses, I'm going to explain. So this is going through and scanning all the modules on the vehicle and just making sure we check each one individually. This is going to check and see if we have any history, pending, permanent, or anything like that. I had gone through this already to get some information, so once it stops, I'm going to explain a few things, and then we'll move on. Alright, so on the four-wheel drive and the ABS, there is a deceleration sensor output abnormal code. They are active, same code in both modules, so it's not two different sensors or anything like that. The car didn't drive weird. I didn't have any shifting episodes that were out of normal, and I don't have any active lights, so definitely something you don't want to ignore, especially with the being a deceleration, acceleration, right? Drivability, right? We want to make sure those things are touched on. As far as your doors here, I was explaining on the interior portion, these switches don't work. The driver one works, but these other three don't work. On the windows themselves, I can roll the windows up and down. These are just current codes yelling at us about the initialization process did not get complete. With the back windows having the papers on them and stuff, I didn't really go through that procedure. I did do it on the passenger and it didn't take. So just something I would just touch base on. Like I said, all the windows work as intended on the doors themselves. You just can't roll anything else down on this switch except for the driver window. And that's going to be our code scan. All right, so we're going to do a quick conclusion on this one. Overall, drives good, handles well. We do have a little bit of pulsation in the brakes that I stated. We have a mismatched set of tires, front and rear, but they're the same on the front, same on the rear. I know these all-wheel drive cars, you're not really supposed to do that, but this is a most of the time front-wheel drive and then uses the rear when needed. We do have some damage on there, here and there. 15-year-old car, so nothing crazy, in my opinion. I do want to make sure we know that we want to get the rust addressed on the car. A bit of surface rust along these lower rockers. Subframes have a good amount of rust, and so do the struts. Those are what support the weight of the vehicle, so let's make sure that's something on our back of our mind. Everything works as intended. It did have an issue with the windows not working. There was codes for those. I tried to do the reset procedure, but it didn't take. So might be something to talk to them about. They work at all the doors. I'm pretty sure I said that a few times. So just something for that master switch so you can roll all the windows down. Car has good power, got up to speed just fine, shifts good. When it was cold, I did make note of it a couple times. There's a little bit of a timing rattle or valve train. Once the oil pressure built up, that went away. Didn't have any weird shifts or anything like that. When it was cold, there was a weird 3 to 4 blip, but it only happened to me once. Beyond that, car does well. Not too bad. Driving. I do want to stress the surface rust. That's something I would definitely get looked at on here. That's going to be our conclusion.